Record to the cloud. We are recording to the cloud, and we're just going to start talking. I love your earrings.
Cute, aren't they?
They sure are. Yeah.
A gift from my daughter.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
And 2 grandchildren. That's fantastic.
That is.
And you see them on a regular basis?
Yeah, until recently, my parents lived with me, my daughter lived with me, or lives with me, and my grandchildren would come and stay. So we would have 4 generations hanging out.
That is so cool. Yeah, so cool.
COVID's changed that a little, so.
Yeah, but yeah. You're getting back?
Yeah, well, we do FaceTimes and things like that. My parents we can't catch up with because they're in aged care now. So that was pretty hard to deal with. But we were just talking about, like, at a click of a button, you can be anywhere in the world, Melbourne, Australia, Canada. So it's extraordinary times. It
is extraordinary times. And I just want to reiterate that too, that in a world that seems to be disconnecting people, there are silver linings in it that are connecting. And right now that we are 16 hours apart, Melbourne, Australia, Calgary, Canada, but yet we're together.
Yeah.
To experience this connection. And I'm hearing this lately too. It's a different connection. So no, you and I are not physically in the same room, but I do, and there are certain experiences to that we cannot replace. I don't believe so. But I don't know about you. Do you feel that you can heighten and tap into other parts of yourself to be connected here?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a very, in some ways, different experience. One of my highest strengths is connection. So I feel connected to everything all the time anyway. But as you're talking about our connection, I've literally got goosebumps going through me. Oh. And that's like literally, as I talk about that, then I've got more goosebumps, like literally body goosebumps. And as you say, there's 16 hours between us. We're across the other side of the world. But I think there's a perception of that distance that is, it's almost made up. Because what it's brought me to, imagine the first time someone had their first telephone call. You know, they've never had a telephone call before, and they're just in, like, you know, they can hear someone.
Yeah.
And there's someone at the other end of a device. I mean, the same thing for us. I think we've forgotten at times, like, the luxury we have to be having a conversation that also others get to listen into.
Yeah.
Around the world at a time of their choosing.
Yeah.
Like, that is phenomenal. It's profound when I really think about the luxury and the richness that we can create now. And we can get stuck in that illusion of very separate. And at the same time, like, the connections are so strong around the world. It's just, yeah, it's crazy.
It is. And to, like you said, to be excited about it and use it. I like what you said about that, is this, you referred back to something a long time ago, and we've evolved. We keep evolving. But I think too, we grasp onto something that was.
Yeah.
And I know I do. I grasp that, well, what about this? Because maybe I'm used to it.
Yeah.
It's my comfort. I'm scared to try something new. And I've been petrified. Do this stuff and learning the Zoom and trying to figure it all out. I used to have this, when I started doing these Zoom calls, I didn't know how to record to the cloud, and no one could help me out with this. So I was recording to my iPad and then using my phone to record the voice. It was crazy. And my 19-year-old daughter, the genius she is, she can put the two together in an iMovie. My voice exactly to the video. Yeah. And anyways, someone finally said to me, well, are you paying for a Zoom, do you have a Zoom subscription? And I said, oh, maybe paying for it might help me. Yeah, money will get you anything, hopefully, right? So now I just press a little button up here, record to the iCloud, and there we are. And we can watch it again. And that's the whole point of this whole thing, is so that whoever's watching this can listen in and connect to us. That's what we want to bring people today. Anything and everything to feel connection and feel that you're heard, you're understood, that you can relate to something that you and I are going to be continuing talking about this morning. And get some kind of sense of feeling, like I said, understood, acknowledged, appreciated, and just a sense of feeling, okay, I'm doing good in this world. I'm okay. More than okay. More. Yeah. We're thriving.
I think one of the important things for me is letting people know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone, no matter how much you feel it. And because I know when I went through my divorce, I didn't speak to anyone about it. Oh. And I didn't have a legal representative. And I felt incredibly alone doing that. And then I've experienced depression. And again, I felt very alone in that. And, but not only that, I thought I was the only one experiencing it. And then it's like, and then I had another, we'll call it a divorce. We weren't married, but we had the same legal separation that we have to go through, that completed a year ago. And through all of that one, I did have a lawyer, but through most of that, it was all feeling alone, that no one else experienced it. And that's why I come together with you to go, hey, there's millions of us out there experiencing this feeling of separation, this feeling of aloneness. And, you know, if we stop, because we're sort of looking in one direction, we look at another direction. It's like, oh, wow, there's you and you and you and you and you and you. And, yeah, we're all experiencing this together. And together is the future. Together is being that openness and that willingness to share from that place of vulnerability that, you know, life is really tough at times and it's exquisitely beautiful. And we have that excitement and that fear, and recently learning it's the same part of the brain that does both. So I remember going on to speak at an event. I was dancing around the back of the room as I do, and they said, hey, would you lead us in a dance for the afternoon session? It's like 400 women. I was like, yeah, cool. And they've introduced me and said, hey, they got my name wrong. And then they said, oh, and she's excited about the future. And I got up and said, well, actually, my name's Heather Joy, and I'm excited and I'm terrified. You can't leave out the part of me that was terrified. So I love that you bring up that, yeah, you have so much excitement. And there's a part of you that's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm finding too, somebody else, it's amazing synchronicities, because somebody else said in the last day or two, I read this too. It might not be that you have anxiety. It might be that you're excited. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm changing that word, because I think I've had anxiety for the last 4 years. So now I'm going to say, no, I've been excited for the last 4 years of my life. Well, more than that, but I'm just saying these feelings of, oh, am I doing this right? Can I do this? And all this unknown. And I know there's a lot of people out there, a lot of women that are saying, oh my gosh, to just step into this unknown territory, because it is. When you go through divorce, there's so much unknown. You don't know. You have no idea. The next day, the next hour, sometimes, let alone the next year, where you're going to live, how are you going to take care of your children, how are you going to figure things out financially, and then what about another relationship? How's that going to be? Am I going to be ready for one? Do I want some things that are similar to what I just had? Do I want something completely different? And how do I navigate anything?
Yeah.
It's a very courageous step.
It is. And if we go back to that anxiety bit, the difference between sort of anxiety and excitement is breathing. Because when we're excited, we breathe with it, but when we're not, when we hold our breath and that, whereas that same brain chemical evidently is going on, so it's like, oh, breathe, and it takes a time, but it's incredibly liberating experience, because I believe that if we get to that point of divorce, then we have two people that are happy. And often one person's admitting it and the other is often not admitting it. But if we really sink into it, then we're co-creating that. We're co-creating that thing together. And I think there's a lot of old school stuff where we had to point the finger, to get divorced. If you go back in time, you had to really point the finger and blame someone, and someone was the good guy and someone was the bad guy. And then that was what was set up legally. I mean, it set us everyone up to fail, because then everyone was like, well, they're the good guy and they're the bad guy. So then then the people around them had to then choose sides with who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. And then as we move away from that, I mean, we're co-creating something that is not working. And then how do we navigate through that? And from my experience, yes, it's really, really painful. And when I let go and when I accept, and the willingness on the other side, then the freedom and the liberation is extraordinary. But that in-between time, if you're navigating it on your own, it is so much harder than it needs to be. But also my experience is, if you're navigating it with someone in the mentality of the good guy, bad guy, that same thing that came in from way back, then it's going to make it even harder again to navigate it. Whereas if we really look at, okay, we've co-created this, and then how do we move forward? And for me, my last relationship was, how do I move forward with grace and ease? And how do I move forward knowing that this person is an extraordinary, beautiful human? I'm a beautiful human, and we're two beautiful humans, and we're not going to be journeying the same together. And that taking the pointing the finger and the blame, and really taking responsibility of, I co-created this thing. I co-created it. A lot of the time I co-created stuff because I couldn't speak. I felt like I couldn't speak. I didn't speak about what I wanted, about what I needed. because I didn't even think that I knew that. But yeah, this silence, like this vice that I would get around my neck that would stop me saying things. And of course, if I'm not saying things, the other person can't mind read, even though I think they should be able to.
I know that. I know. I've been through. I've been through all that too. And you find. I was just thinking. I think it's been a gift actually today. That's the first word I've ever used. In talking about divorce, I said this to myself today. It's actually a gift because it's given me a voice now to. I mean, I had a voice before, but a new awareness of my voice, and it's okay. What is it that I want? What do I want? What do I need? And it's that being still and taking that time to be gentle and kind and loving to yourself, to let those answers come in and explore those answers. It's a beautiful time. You don't think it at the time, but but it really is now when you go through it and you can look back to continuously discovering these things about yourself. It's an opportunity, and it is a chance. And like you said, co-create. The other person has that same opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're giving that to each other. It's a great gift to be able to give that to yourself and to someone else to explore that.
I think for me, like the gift is, because again, people look for silver linings, and I love that. And I'm like, what is the gold?
Yeah.
What is the gold? What is the absolute gift?
Yeah.
In this? And again, going through the divorce is hell. And my second time round wasn't, because all I had to do the second time round was come back to my heart. Come back to my heart, come back to love and compassion, because that's one of my biggest messages to the world. And I was very good at having love and compassion for everyone else, but then having the love and compassion for ourselves. And so every time something would come up, like a comment would come or something would come at me, then I would just have the love and compassion about, okay, bring the love and compassion back. Because otherwise it's really easy to get caught in the pointing the finger and the blame versus, okay, with love and compassion, two people hurting because we both hurt and we're both grieving. And even if we don't realize it, even if both people don't realize they're grieving, we're grieving, and there's a void there. And it's very easy to just point the finger and then be in that reactionary space. And it's not wrong.
No.
But it was like, okay, how do I come back to my heart? How do I come back to my heart? How do I come back to love and compassion? And that, it was extraordinary for me the second time round, because I got a lawyer who said, hey, are you guys talking to each other? And I said, yes. And she's like, cool.
Yeah.
She's like, then do that. And just come to me with the things that you need to legally tick off. Now, he had a lawyer who had a different scenario.
Yeah.
And I would go back to her and say, his lawyer's saying this. And she said, his lawyer doesn't know where her next meal is coming from. So she is just trying to create problems. She's like, you don't need any of that. Just decide this and come back to me. And it was extraordinary to be able to keep my heart open and just go back and say, hey, we can go down that path. I don't want to. We agreed at the start. We didn't want to make any noise.
No.
We agree on this. So this is what my lawyer says, that we just need that. Very simple. Very simple. And that was so powerful.
Very.
To navigate that. Again, as soon as my heart shut down, then I suffered. And so did the other people around me. So it's like, how do I keep, no matter how vulnerable I feel, no matter how much I'm hurting, I have to keep my heart open.
Yes. And I think what a remarkable human being, that lawyer, because inside my body right now, I'm feeling, wow, what a conscious human being. They're not out to grab every penny that you have. They're saying, and they're encouraging you to talk and come to decisions. And then when you've got that, then I'm here to help you with this part of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're really not, you're not getting in touch with yourself. You're just going to them for every single thing, every thought that comes up. You're never getting yourself together. Bringing you back to, like you said, your heart. What do you need? What do you want?
Yeah. And
wow, for the two of you to have that advice, that's really, that's a, there's your gold nugget.
And then there was also the bonus of one of my accountants who rang me, like synchronicity at odd times would ring me as I was about to say, look, have that. And I'd get a phone call and I'd be like, hello? And he's like, now listen here. It's important you fight for. It's important that you fight for what you've worked hard for. And I'd be like, okay. And then find my truth. Find my truth in what really felt good in my heart, but in my body. And so I've come up with this thing called Spruth, SPRUTH, which is speaking truth with love and compassion. So then again, goosebumps. So when I really come from that place, when I speak something that is not true for me, that is not right for me, that doesn't serve me or the person I'm speaking to, it tastes bad. It almost grates as it comes out, and as I hear it, it's like all of my senses are just like, yuck, yuck, yuck. And I will be halfway through a sentence and then I'm like, okay, just scrap. I don't even know where that's going, but that is no longer my truth. It was my truth going round and round and round in my head. But as I put it out to the world, I'm like, look, that is not right. So to go from not feeling I didn't have a voice, and then having a lawyer be my voice in another legal thing, and then coming through and then, where is my own voice? So there were times when I've had a lawyer said, be my voice. And that was exquisite to have the relationship, and we were sitting at a mediation table for something else. I couldn't get a word out. The mediator asked me something and I literally could not get a word out of my mouth, and I sat there with my mouth just and my lawyer just looked at me, this beautiful young woman. She just looked at me and I looked at her, and then she said, I'm Heather's voice. And it was like my whole body just relaxed, and it was like, So that finding our voice, we always have a voice, and then we go through experiences where it is so shut down. There's so much fear, trauma. I can't even explain it. At times where we can't speak, and then that time to have an advocate. So again, with you working with people, then to have that advocate who can help us navigate that is, again, profound. And that's why I think with this last one, through these experiences, I found my voice.
Right.
And then, so having someone help us navigate that, to find our voice. And then there are still times where I can't speak. And then I really look at what is not authentic here. And then also understand that there are times when I can't speak. Is my body shutting me down to protect me?
Mm.
So it's my body's wisdom also conserving my energy, because anything that I say is not going to land anyway. So again, there's a deeper truth behind that not being able to speak. There's more gold to come, maybe.
And you brought up a really good point about the body, because sometimes we get so wrapped up and so busy, we're not listening to the cues in our body. Our body do tell us things. And sometimes you don't have to have an answer. No. And I know, I know for me and many other women out there, we want the answer. And we are going to be the private investigators. We're going to be the psychologist. We're going to be God, if you have it. We're going to be all of it, because we're going to dig and dig and dig and dig and keep going to get the answers. And I know this is something that I coach. It's something I've discovered for myself, and it brings great release, and the body feels really good. And it's a tough one, but it's accepting that you might not get the answer or all the answers. And it's okay. I think once we start to let go of that private investigator mode, and then turn that around and start focusing on what you need and what you want and what your desires are, and getting into those habits on a daily basis. It's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight, but when it's consistent, in time you realize you are letting go, and you don't need to know all these answers. You don't need to figure it all. It's not. Sometimes it's something that's not figure outable.
Yeah. Oh, that is.
What do you
I love that. Yeah, I totally love that, because I like to explore different profile systems with my clients as well. And there's one called human design. And in that, I make decisions in the moment. My body makes it. And then if I miss that, then I'm stuck in my head. But the thing is, there are people who just know stuff. Like, I know this is not right. Or in the moment. For me, it's in the moment. Whereas other people have to go on an emotional journey. So the thing is, if I try to explain someone my decision, it's totally from my head, because it's the body that guides us. So there are so many things. Then we make a decision because our body actually decided it for us. And there's such a deep wisdom in there. But then our head wants to make sense of it.
Yeah.
But then all our head is doing is making up stories.
Yeah.
We make up a narrative to try and connect the dots, of which the other option is just acceptance and that willingness to co-create a future. So the more we go down that backwards thing into the past, trying to understand it, trying to explain it, versus going, hey, what do I want? One of my things is, okay, joy. I want to hang out in my joy space. I want to be in joy. You were saying before, your body, like that lightness, that whatever, if I really tap into it, it's joy.
Yeah.
I want more joy in my life. And then you can look at, well, cool, how do we get that? That for well, it's not too long because everything is perfect. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the wisdom I have. But I spent years in therapy. And that was trying to understand the past. And what a crazy, crazy thing to do is to spend all the time looking back, as opposed to acceptance and the willingness to go, cool. What didn't work? What did work? What do I want more of? And that trying to dabble into that pasty thing, like I really don't do that. And again, one of my highest strengths is futuristic. First one is connection. This is using Gallup strength. The next one is positivity, and the next one is futuristic. And yet the therapists and the people I were hanging around with were taking me back into the past. So it was killing me. It was destroying me. And I couldn't understand why. Because I'm like, well, these are the people that are coming into my life to help me. And so again, that experience is beautiful when I'm working with people, and the same with you, as you say. It's like, cool, how do we move forward? How do we create the future that we want? What did we learn? What was that silver lining? What is that gold nugget? And how do we take that forward? And again, there's a pace that we can go. We can't move it faster than it needs to go. That if you have a coach and people who are helping you move forward. How about we move forward?
Forward's a good direction.
Pardon?
It's the only, logically it makes sense that that's the only direction. Or do you want to stay stuck?
Yeah. And sometimes we want to stay stuck for a little while.
I kind of like staying stuck sometimes. I want to keep that story going. I want to say it again and again. And I want everyone to hear that same story who hasn't heard it. I'll find them.
Well, what I've come to understand is there's a permission stage in our growth or in our awakening, or some people might call it actualization, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And one of the stages is permission. And that is that permission stage, which is like, woe is me, poor me, this happened to me, this is my experience. And there's some crap stuff that happens that is not okay that it happens, right? So I'm not accepting that, there are things that are okay. But then we relive it every time we tell it, every time we tell it. And then you get to a point, I did some speaker training, and then I listened to people tell that same story and that same story. Yeah. And then I went back to hospital one time because with the depression, I was put into hospital. And there was a person that I'd met the first time there. So I was really excited. I was like, hey. And then she told exactly the same story. Exactly. And I was like, oh my God, is that like, am I doing that? Am I doing that? When do I do that? Okay, I don't want to do that. Now, there are times I still do that, but again, as I'm speaking it, it's like, yuck, yuck, yuck. This is not what I want to do. This is not serving me. This is not serving my higher self. Definitely serving a part of me, but do I really want to do that? No.
And that's a great awareness that you can catch yourself, because it does happen. It's not perfect. It will happen. No, it's going to happen again, but then you can say again quicker, I'm not going down the path. I'm not going there. Yeah, I know, eh? And this is what I find for a lot of women and myself. I was so stuck, so stuck, trying to get out of that way of thinking, and like you said, the blame. And I knew that blame wasn't going to get me anywhere. Sometimes it felt kind of good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and then you get your little tribe around you, and yeah, whatever you want to call it, bashing, whatever you want.
Yes.
But I just knew that was not it. Like, that's not where things are gonna, how would I say, make me grow and step into something new if I keep that repetitive, that talk. And like you said, you keep saying that whole collaborative way of divorce. What do you find about, how do you feel about, well, you did say taking responsibility. You did say that here. And I find that a key thing. And a lot of people don't want to go there, but I know for myself, I knew that I had a part in all of this, but I didn't really want to accept it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there. And for instance, like right on the altar, I had a voice that said to me, you know, you don't have to do this forever. Do you believe that? And, but I didn't know what to do with any of that.
Yeah.
But no, I shelved that voice then right away. And then there was not another voice that said to me, well, you could stop now. You don't have to sign the papers. You can walk out. But none of that came to me. No. So, you know, when you shelf something for so long, then it does resurface and it comes back to you. And like I said, taking that, instead of blaming him, taking that responsibility for myself, my own feelings and actions, and saying, hey, remember, you really weren't feeling right about this in the first place. So why don't we examine that a little bit?
That's
and
a really that's a super powerful thing. And I realize I'm over talking you. I'm excited. I'm excited because you were already out the door. If I look at it, I'm hearing you already had your escape route there, and then it takes me back to mine. So I was living with this man. We met across a room. Like, I met his energy, his soul, and it was extraordinary. And then, of course, I got lost in, I'm supposed to marry this person because that's all I knew, right? And then I went deeper and deeper into depression, not that it was diagnosed. And one day he came to me and I was sitting there crying and on bended knee. He's like, I was waiting for you to be happy, but I don't know when you're going to be. Will you marry me? Now, when I look back, it was my whole body was like saying, I love this man. I'm not supposed to spend my rest of my life with him. I didn't know that. And I didn't have this awareness because I'd met this glorious soul, this energy, this wonderful thing. And I was spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. But, you know, you've met this person and this person is good to me and this person is kind and I love this person.
Yeah.
And so I look back and there were so many warning signs, like this deep depression, this continual crying. And even as we went into my marriage, talking about, like, the night before, I wasn't even speaking to him. My whole body was shutting down. Right? There was, with the awareness I have now, there were so many signs, but I still loved this guy. And then, of course, it didn't work.
No.
It didn't work. And at that same time, I was playing sport. And then I was playing for Australia and I was getting ready to go off to the World Series. So I had so much inner conflict that I had no idea about. But again, I think every one of us is co-creating that stuff. Now, maybe if we talked about that at the start, we might have, the story may have been different if we'd said, hey, there's part of me that's not on board. there's part of me that's not on board. Let's explore that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just that. Oh, guess what? I'm fully on board. Or, oh, no, we're not meant to go there. And all these things that we don't speak about it's almost like as you said, we don't acknowledge ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it with a trusted person who's not going to point fingers and stuff. Someone who's objective outside. And then if we do talk, we'll talk to someone who just agrees with us and flares up our little stories. So that awareness that we all have where things aren't right and our body's telling us, so either shutting that voice down or whatever version it is crazy. So again, that's the importance of having a coach and someone there that you can sort of filter through. And like, oh, what is it? What is real? Like, what is that thing that is there? Then again, that's a really powerful way to move forward.
It is. And we just keep evolving that way. Which is really cool. It's really cool.
Well, that's the thing. If we hadn't been through what we'd been through, we wouldn't be able to help. We wouldn't be able to help others. So.
No, how would we?
No.
No, and we learned different ways of navigating things that work for us, like you said, that things that serve you and things that don't serve you. Yeah. And having someone, like you said, that's non-judgmental, that doesn't have a stake in this, that you can just bounce something off of, is really important. Really, really important. Yeah. So we're finding those people throughout our lives. Mm-hmm.
That is finding. There's a thing people say, if you've got someone 2 steps ahead of you, they can lead you, and that's cool. But if you've got someone 5 or 10 steps ahead of you, then well, they're not still in the permission stage of there's a different thing. So again, we will evolve through that, where maybe the first person who helps you is half a step ahead of you, so they're still sort of in the quagmire a bit, and then there's someone who's a step and a half ahead of you, so they're a little bit further out. But then when you're coming out the other side and you can really see the silver lining, the gold, then the shifts we can have, the realizations we can have, the awareness that we can have, the sort of fast tracking that we can have, because then we're at the next level of willingness and acceptance. So like, cool, how do we move forward? And then when we get to that point, things that have seemed really slow my experience can then speed up, and it's like literally the layers just keep falling off. Don't need to hang on. Don't need to explore it. Don't need to understand it. It's just like, whoo, and then you wings. It's like the butterfly. The wings can start to just like, woo, time to fly.
Yeah, and you feel alive. You feel light, and you're thriving.
Yeah.
You feel young and joyful, like you said.
Yeah.
Tap
into that. And even like, how do we move forward? It's like just playing with what brings us joy. So again, what brings us joy? So for me to have these conversations. Pardon?
What brings you the greatest joy?
Having conversations like this about creating new futures for people. It's like the goosebumps, the joy, the possibility, because again, we get so stuck in the darkness of our heads.
I know.
And then I'm here to say, okay, on the other side of stuck in the darkness of the head, there is so much joy. So to have these open conversations about being a woman, about being a human, about sexuality, about divorce, about finances, about all the things people don't talk about.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, just invite me.
Yeah.
What because again, finances is something often as women we won't talk about. Sexuality
Oh my
wasn't
God.
something that, you know, I started exploring tantra and sexuality in a
Yeah.
conscious way
Yeah.
in my late 50s.
Yeah.
And it's like, why weren't we doing that before we got married?
Yeah. Where was the coach for that?
Or as we were married? Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so important. Sex is
Yeah.
so important. I feel that way. I openly talk about it with lots of people. It's a beautiful experience and expression, and between two people, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
The sky is the limit in exploring that and figuring out what you need and knowing what to ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Is that a thing? Like, you can ask for what you want.
Oh,
What is it I want? All right. And so if there's people listening and they're in like, I don't even know what I want, because I've been there as well. It's
yeah.
like, I remember one of my first coaches like, what do you want? And I'm like, what? Like, what? What? Uh, um, he's like, what's your favorite? And I was like, favorite? Favorite anything? Like, I didn't have answers for anything. And like looking back, it was really, I'm smiling now. It was really painful. And it's like, I didn't have any answers. So then one of the things is often part of the journey is, all right, what don't you want? All right, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't, and then the process of elimination.
Yeah, sure.
And that's part of being back in our primal brain, is like to escape things. Like so often we don't move towards pleasure. We're not hardwired for that. So then it's like, cool, what do you want to move away from? All right, it's easy to list. I don't want this. So does that mean you want that? Oh, well, yeah, maybe I do want more joy in my life. And maybe I do want more freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe I do want more music and dancing and speaking and whatever, because I don't want the stuck in my head. I don't want the silence. I don't want the this. I don't want the that. So yeah, feel very human. If you're sitting there going, I don't know what I want, then I would again play what brings you joy.
What brings you joy?
What brings you joy?
Yeah, and do it.
Yeah.
And do it often.
Yeah.
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 And it's okay.
Yeah.
We deserve it.
Yeah.
Souls, they crave it. That's what your soul wants. Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing shallow about it.
Well, if we look at Hawkins' scale of consciousness, it's a really interesting scale you can look at. There's sort of a line in the middle, and power is power is above, and below is force. So if we're looking at being in our power, then in our power is acceptance, our power is willingness, our power is love, our power is compassion, our power is joy, our power is peace. That is all the space to play in. That is where the growth is. And if we're hanging out in the anger and the resentment and the blame and the frustration and all that, cool, that can pop in at times. But if we're hanging out there, then life ain't grand. Life ain't fun. Everything reflected around us is heavy and dark. That if we play in that next space, it's like it's a pretty cool place to play in.
Yeah. And all we got to do is just give ourselves permission to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that takes time for people that are listening. It's a little step, and then you taste it, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And as humans, we need to experience this stuff. Like you said, this whole darkness and in your head, that's an old pattern.
Yeah.
New evolving patterns of,
Yeah.
like you said,
And
of joy.
I think one of the things, I was speaking at a speaking gig and I was like, I want to give other people permission. And one of the coaches said, you can't. And I was like,
Oh,
no, I don't agree. So
yeah.
in the early stages, you and I are here to give people permission that they're not yet giving themselves. So
Yeah.
like, we give you permission, sisters, ladies, women, and any men who happen to be listening into, full permission to explore what you love, what lights you up, what brings you joy. And one day we won't need that permission. When I wrote my book, that was what it was. I wrote my book and it was permission to speak my truth with love and compassion. And then it's like, yeah. And I got to do that because other people had invited me and given me permission in a private Facebook group. There was this one time I was like, I couldn't even, like, I was trying to hit the press post. And it was like, I was trying to force my hand down to hit the post button because I couldn't post anything on Facebook. I was just, so this is not that long ago. I couldn't speak on Facebook. I couldn't post anything. And then, some women in that space said, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Permission to post whatever the you want to post.
Yeah.
So people gave me permission. And now I recognize I don't need anyone else to give me permission.
No, you don't.
In the early stages, it is permission. And knowing that in that permission space, you will tell that same story and you will point the finger and you will blame because it's part of the evolution. And then when you have someone to help you through that, that evolution, my experience is it can happen faster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's been so, I don't know how, actually, I did know how this was going to go tonight. I was excited. I thought we're going to just flow and let it come out. And for everyone and anyone, like you said, who's watching this, we just want you to enjoy what we've discovered. And we want that for you, and to not feel alone. It's okay to explore all these different things and evolve and give yourself permission. And it takes time. And sometimes you don't have to figure anything out. Maybe you just need to go have a long sleep.
Oh, yeah.
That is okay too.
A big cry, a glass of water, and a lay down.
Yeah. Sleep's a good thing because all this stuff is so exhausting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so exhausting.
There's actually science behind the sleep. We get growth hormone, we get all these things that are released when we're sleeping. So it is part of the healing. Yeah. For me, it also became a bit part of the problem because I'd sleep 24/7. But it is really important.
Yeah. It can go the other way.
Pardon?
Yeah. Yes, it can be the other way. You're sleeping it all away.
Yeah.
That's not good either.
No, that's not good because I said to my psychiatrist one day, I said, can you just put me to sleep and wake me when it's over? I literally wanted to avoid the pain. Yeah. And of course, if I avoid the pain, then I avoid the growth. So that doesn't work either. Yeah, you can't eliminate it all. It can't just be like that. But with some guidance, it can go a little quicker or quite a bit
quicker. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
lo-
So you
I
don't
really, I'm with
forever.
you. Like the grief and stuff doesn't go any quicker. But the ability to bring more grace and
Yeah.
ease and
Mm.
flow and take you into that joy spot, then that's definitely having someone help us navigate that is and one of the big things when we're helping people navigate that stuff, there's no judgments. Like you bring all
No.
your mess, bring all your mess. There's no like turn up and like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's like, I'm a basket case right now. It's like, cool,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, that's okay,
That's okay.
that's okay. Yeah, we come in whatever we bring there with, and that's also what fast tracks working with someone who has no judgments. That's extraordinary. But also that person, I think, calling us on our BS at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the important thing. You know, my lawyer, I would start saying something and she'd just look at me and I'd be like, I'm justifying, and she'd be like,
Yeah.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And she's like, you could do it. But it was just like, she would just, you know, I got to know that look where it's like, yeah, all right. Do I really want to go there?
And you really
Again,
need
it wasn't a judgment of like it's good or bad. It's just like, do you want to go there? Is that the path you want to take? And so again, working with someone who's not going to judge, that you can literally be where you're at, is powerful.
very powerful. Yeah. It's the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at us smile. It's the future.
This Olive. So if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, how do they do that, Heather?
Yeah, the easiest way is go to Facebook,
Okay.
Heather Joy Bassett, and send me a message. Whether we're friends or not, just send me a message. I'm on LinkedIn, that needs updating. I've got a website that needs updating, and I'm like hanging out on Facebook. Just send a message without the need for the friend, because that goes into that other folder. There's another folder that the friends go in. So just say, hey, heard you speaking with the extraordinary Lisa, and I want to connect. Because there's a whole lot of friend invites and I don't get round to them. But if someone really wants to connect, then they can just bypass that, send me a message.
Yeah, she's my friend. She's my friend.
As I said, Lee.
Find her. Yeah.
The extraordinary Lisa. And so I just want to honor you for the work that you're doing, because I know it's a big thing and it's a big step to take. You know, you've been helping people, and you know, a lot of people won't go to that vulnerability, to that space. And the fact that you're there helping people navigate that, and come out the other side of that, that's why I'm here, because I'm like, I want to celebrate you and thank you for bringing this gift to the gift of what you have to offer the world. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you. And by you saying that and being here today, it just keeps it going. And that's my intention for so many people, is that these realizations that you don't have to be in a relationship that's not serving you anymore. It's okay. Yes, there's going to be heartache in it, but we're here for you and we can do this together. Absolutely together. We're here to help. Yeah. So if you want to reach out to me at lisatalksdivorce.com, you can. Same thing on Facebook, Lisa McCallum Calgary. And all I got to do is have a chat and take it from there. Very simple. Okay? Yeah.
That's the beauty, that you're bringing the simplicity. So well done.
Yeah. Just make it simple. Not complicated. Yeah. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it has. Mm.
Okay, hang on here. Just a sec here.